You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. You know, I was on Sox social media over the last couple of days, and I noticed an awful lot. Oh yeah, I noticed an awful lot of people apologizing for what they've said about Lenyn Sosa.
Were they saying bad things about Lenyn Sosa?
I guess other people thought he wasn't going to be good. There were a lot.
What?
There were a lot of people out there who just didn't think he was going to be very good. Meanwhile, I have nothing to apologize because I was on this show. I was on this show last year, and I was saying over and over and over again, look at him at single A, look at him at double A, look at him at triple A. Look at how he stumbles out of the gate at every level. And when given consistent at-bats in basically the same spot in the lineup, and you give him the ability to grow, 50 days later, he comes to life, right? Couple months into it, all of a sudden he becomes exactly what he was at the last level. And what he would do is, and this is really interesting, pull up his baseball reference, look at the back of the baseball card through the minors. What Lenyn Sosa would do then is perform at basically the same level at double A that he did at triple A. Remember how we talked about how Colson Montgomery, it was really weird the way he was coming up because the batting average dropped 50 points with every level he moved up.
Right.
You know, the slugging percentage dropped 50 points every time he moved up a level. The on-base percentage dropped. All these things dropped. So when he got to a harder level, he never really completely became the same guy that he was at the level below. That's why what he's doing right now is astounding, and you worry with the low batting average, but he's got the power. Like, where does it all even out with him? And we're going to have to wait and see.
I think we're honestly seeing that even before the injury against the Braves. I think we're starting to see the Colson Montgomery lack of adjustment. He's going to have to adjust, but Lenyn Sosa, yeah, I think he's the best hitter on the team.
Hey, listen, I said it. You know I said it, right? I'm not making this up.
I know you said it. I know you said it, and I didn't disagree with you.
Right, you didn't disagree. That's right. Okay, so you get to get on the boat with me. Ed's on the boat
You and I are on the boat.
Okay, we're on the boat together. I wasn't sure if you were on the boat. I knew I was on the boat. I'm steering the boat.
You were definitely on the boat.
I was on the boat.
You were steering the boat. You made the boat out of the very living wood you found in the forest.
Right, I washed up on the beach, beaten in the middle of the worst season there was, and found materials to build a Lenyn Sosa boat. And I was yelling last year, okay, it's a lost season. Just put him out there and play him all the time because Pedro wouldn't do it. Pedro wouldn't give him any consistency. And you could see at every level, if you gave him consistency, he was going to be something. And then Grady did it. Now, he had some stumbles. He had the league adjust to him and he had to adjust back. But Grady showed the first thing. Grady Sizemore showed it the first time last year what happens if you give him consistency. And now this year, the team finally figured it out, went with consistency, and look how it's paying off. He's 25 years old. He's hitting in the 270s right now with 17 home runs. And if he keeps up this pace, he's going to have 25 without a problem.
Easy.
He's on it.
He could push 30.
Well, I was sitting there saying, like, you need to find a position for him because he's not going to hit 30 home runs. And he's like, hold my beer. Like, I don't know if he's going to do it. He's only at 17. He's only at 17, and it's the middle of August. So who knows? Injury can get in the way. He could have a rough stretch. I don't think he keeps up the burning pace he's on for the next 6 weeks. But he is a Major League Baseball hitter at 25 years old. And the team now has to figure out exactly where they want to put him. Because even the Sox Nerd posted the other day, right after he comes on Sox in the Basement and gives all these stats about Lenyn Sosa as a second baseman, then they just moved him to first for the next few days. So they're still trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do with him, but they know this. He's got to be in the lineup. He's got to be up towards the top. He's performing really well, and I don't need to apologize for anything I said about Lenyn Sosa because I was with him the whole time in the boat. You were next to me. I don't remember a lot of other people there. James Fox was one of the guys who pointed out the thing that I kept harping on. That,
yes.
But that was back when he was in AAA. See, Fox, when he was in AAA, was like, when this kid gets to the majors, he's going to take some time. He was the first one that keyed me into that, and I never left that. The idea that when he went from level to level, he needed consistency, and then he came alive. If all prospects did that, man, things would be different, right? People will say, oh, well, that's normal. You just got to do that for every prospect. No. Think of all the guys that we gave consistency to, like Eloy Jimenez and the countless others that like we thought. Yohan Moncada got a lot of consistency handed to him, just a ton of it, right?
Andrew Vaughn had plenty of consistency.
A lot of consistency was given to Andrew Vaughn. That's the one I want to give because Moncada was a lot of injury and. Jimenez did that stupid thing where he hurt his rib cage or his shoulder, and then he was done forever.
He ended his career with that ill-timed and ill-fated attempt to catch a home run that was 7 rows back above his head.
Changed his whole career. Career with a stupid decision out there. You can have all the athletic talents in the world, but the brains are also necessary as well. This episode and every episode of Sox in the Basement brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park. They're at 33rd and Princeton, the shadow of the ballpark, award-winning menu of burgers and ballpark favorites with an extensive bar that has a rotation of craft beers, familiar favorites, spirits, and wines. They are your home base for White Sox pregame, postgame, and viewing parties. Dad's headed over to the Beverly location today. He calls me up today, my father. He's like, there was going to be a golf outing, but it rained so much, golf outing's canceled. So we're just going to Cork and Carry and starting to drink at 3 p.m.
Yeah, why not?
I was like, to be an old retiree. It's all old retired coppers. That's what's hanging out there today. There was like a police, like golf outing, retired police golf outing that now just turned into a retired police drink-a-thon at Cork and Carry.
All their backs will feel so much better tomorrow because of that.
Right, with prizes. Because they have the end of the old guys when they do golf tournaments, when they do golf things, at the end they have prizes. Like my dad has a bar in his cottage that he won because it was just one of the door prizes at one of these things. I can't even imagine the life that he lives as a retiree. I don't think I'll ever get it, but it's absolutely incredible. See more at corkandcarry.com. So Lenyn Sosa's hitting the crap out of the ball. People are all apologizing. Some that need to apologize are still trying to point out, well, it's only like a 2 or 3 WAR or whatever. Look, this guy's only going to get better, I think. I really do. As long as they could find a place for him where his glove doesn't minimize things, right? His glove's probably impacting his wins above replacement right now.
I would think so.
Yeah,
I would guarantee it. Actually, I haven't done that deep of a dive, but his fielding. There's a reason why when Chase Meidroth got healthy, there's a reason why Sosa goes to first. They want his bat in the lineup, but he is not a better second baseman than Chase Meidroth. He's not a better shortstop than Colson Montgomery. And when Montgomery gets hurt, he shifts over, which they want that positional flexibility, but. You got to figure out where to put him. And I'm still advocating for them to give him some reps in the outfield and figure out a way to do that in the offseason. Wherever they put him, they just got to figure out the fielding. That's it. And you know what? I'll take that. I mean, am I nuts to think that fielding can be taught a little bit better than hitting? Hitting is like such a precise thing. You could find a position for this guy, right? Go out there and hit a bunch of balls in his direction with a fungo bat until he gets it right. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm nuts. Well, I do think that there's an art to fielding. There's an athleticism. There's a natural fluidity. Some guys have it. Some guys maybe don't. But he doesn't need to be Gold Glove. He just needs to be competent. That's all he needs to be. He needs to be exactly. He needs to be AJ Pierzynski coming out of retirement to play for the Savannah Bananas competent, right? Yes. Mark Burley kind of trying to get it across the plate for the Savannah Bananas competent. What was his quote again? What did Burley? Burley goes and pitches in that game. What's his quote the next day? He's not going to be able to wipe his ass with that arm for a week and a half. I love him. He's my favorite. Yeah. He is also, I will give Burley credit, of the 3 guys that appeared on the field, Mark Burley looked like he is fresh off of retirement. AJ and Paulie looked a little, but Burley, a little aged from where they were. Burley never looked like an athlete. Exactly. Right? That's the thing. So he just kept exactly what he was. He looked like he did. I mean, maybe a little Just for Men in the beard or something like that to bring him back a few years, but he looked exactly like I remember him. No, he always looked like a 16-inch softball player that just got there after work and he was going to pitch that day. That's what he always looked like. Yeah, and actually AJ kind of looked like himself too. He's a little bigger than he used to be. Paulie was the one that looked like he's enjoying retirement and prospering, as we say. Oh, and then Ozzy was dancing. I mean, look, that was fun. Ozzy was dancing. That whole thing was fun, and you could watch it on TV, and it was a blast. But I'm going to tell you, I go back to what we said on the last show. That is an indictment on the White Sox as a whole, as an organization, that somebody else came into your stadium, even if it was a traveling circus. A traveling circus sold out your stadium at a very high price point, higher than what you're selling tickets for right now, and put on a show that was the best thing that's going to happen in that ballpark all year long.
All right. So, I mean, some things need to be rethought from the top down, including what kind of team you put on the field. And if you're going to have the excitement of a Lenyn Sosa hitting well, and you're going to have Luis Robert Jr. playing well in the second half when he's healthy, but I think they're going to end up moving him. You're going to bring in some other pieces. There's movement upward. There's forward movement right now with this team. Go out and add some bats. If you're really going to have $20-some million on the books, go out and add some bats. Right? After Robert's gone, that's basically all you're carrying around. Go out and add a couple of bats in the corner outfield position. Go out and tweak things a little bit. Maybe add some pitching. Got to do that. I saw Sean Burke is on his way back to the minor leagues. Jonathan Cannon's on his way back to the minor leagues, and good. Because if you're going to have a whip in the 140s, then you shouldn't be here 162 games. Give somebody else a chance. And that's what they're doing. That's how you should do things.
Yeah, and you know, you look at the season stats, and yes, Burke is leading the team in strikeouts, but he's got 6 2/3 more innings than Shane Smith, who is the other leader in the clubhouse there, at 98 strikeouts. He's just got more innings under his belt.
Yeah, their per inning is basically the same.
Right, but the difference between Burke and Smith is that whip that you mentioned, a 1.44 whip for Sean Burke, a 1.28 whip for Shane Smith on the season. Batting average against Sean Burke is 253. Batting average against Shane Smith is still 223. You know, it's the only thing that Burke has done better than Shane Smith is not hit guys, which, you know, Smith is among the league leaders with 11 hit batsmen. He's behind Mike Soroka still at 14 hit batsmen. But Burke has also given up 19 home runs, and Cannon has given up 18 home runs, and he's got a similar whip in far fewer innings than Burke does. And Cannon got lit up in his last couple of starts, and Burke got lit up in his last 2 starts. He's got a 5.14 ERA, only 7 innings pitched, gave up 10 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them were earned, struck out 10, but that's a whip of 2.
Yeah.
And a batting average of 323 against. Sean Burke might be in need of just not taking the ball every 5 days from here on out.
Well, they're young guys, and young guys wear out. And you know,
yeah.
you mentioned the fact you're getting hit by a pitch. There's a few hit by pitches. I want to talk about a funnier one that I just saw the other day on the internet that I want to laugh about. But let's talk about falling down in the bathroom, shall we? That was
okay.
I tried my hardest to make a transition there. I couldn't. Bathroom safety matters, preventing falls with smart modifications. What Hyatt Home Medical Equipment wants to do for you. More than 80% of home falls occur in the bathroom. Injuries often involve slippery bathtubs, awkward transfers, like that transition, or a lack of proper support. Seniors and those recovering from surgery are especially vulnerable. So what do? Hyatt's got grab bars, shower chairs, transfer benches. They can raise the toilet seat. They can put in non-slip mats and have flooring solutions for you. Plus, there's walk-in tubs and roll-in showers available as well. See everything they have to offer at hhme.com. You saw Victor Robles throw a baseball bat at a minor league pitcher.
At poor Joey Estes, who happened to be the latest guy to plunk him. Apparently, Robles
he hit him 4 times.
Yeah.
Estes, I think, hit him at least 3 times. Like, I saw the John Boy breakdown of it. Like, this was going on for like 5-6 days. Robles is on a minor league assignment and is just plunked by the same guy and the same team in 3 different games. And
it's definitely been the same team. Yeah, it's been awful for him.
And Estes had done it more than anybody. And I think it's because the book on him is to go in high and tight. But the guys at that level can't do that. They're just not good enough. So they're trying to pitch him like they have the skill to pitch him inside, and they can't. I don't think they're aiming at him, but I think about the 6th time he was plunked, he was like, that's it, I'm done. He just threw his bat at him. And it was funny because as I started watching, I'm like, oh, here we're gonna watch a baseball player acting badly. And you shouldn't throw your bat, right? Like, that's something you shouldn't do. It's crazy.
Frowned upon. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, but even the announcer was like, well, he has been hit with a lot of baseballs, so I mean, how does he defend himself? I thought that was kind of funny. Because it's true.
Yeah, well.
And then I was watching it with my 17-year-old, and Dominic's looking over my shoulder as I'm watching it on the screen here in the studio because I was like going through the whole breakdown. And he's watching with me, and when he threw the bat, my 17-year-old goes, good.
Oh, wow.
He's like, he was out for blood. He's like, they hit the guy like 6 times. Like, yeah, of course he threw his bat. So it's one of those things where, like, you don't do that, right? Like, I mean, he threw the sunflower seeds and he did the yelling in the screen. He never threw any punches, but he flung the bat in his direction. And I'm like, man, I fling my phone off to the side when I lose a bad matchup on a video game on it. So, I mean, he shouldn't do it. He definitely shouldn't do it. But he was plunked like 6 times. Like a lot of times.
It was a lot.
But
it's a lot of getting hits.
And the same guy had done it like 3 of those 6 times. Like, that's the thing. The same guy had been doing it. So, like, there was actually showed in a bat in the middle of all this where he stood at the edge of the batter's box and didn't actually get in there. Like, you could have put a whole Victor Robles and a half in between where he used to stand and where he was standing now. And he just stood there and walked out of the box after every pitch. He wouldn't even offer it because he was just tired of being hit. And then a new game started and they're like, don't worry, Victor, I'm sure they'll be better this time around. And they hit him right away. So I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. I would have chucked the bat.
I get it. Okay. I mean, it's
I would have chucked
wrong.
the bat. I mean,
Kids don't do that, but I was like, holy cow, how many times have you hit this guy?
No, you're not. I mean, you could really hurt somebody with it, but you can really get hurt getting hit with baseballs that many times, especially the way guys throw these days.
And he had been hit from mid-chest up towards the head every single time.
Which is where a lot of the damage I feel like gets done when guys get hit, because it can hit you on the wrist, it can hit you on the hand, it can hit you in the face. Obviously, is a big one, but getting hit in the rear end, getting hit in the leg. I mean, it sucks, but it's where your meat is.
Right.
Everything else. I mean, you take one off the ribs and
hurts.
Hurts. Yeah,
hurts.
I mean, I never played much beyond high school, but I got hit a lot. And I didn't like it in the upper body.
That's because nobody liked you. All right, so
that's true.
Back to those pitchers that got sent down though, and I just want to clarify in the whole whip thing. Look, if you're going to be a major league starter, I've always said that you're an effective, good major league starting pitcher if your whip is 1.30 or lower, and you're going to get some guys on your team that are in the 1.3s. But the guys that are in the 1.3s generally are like they're like your 4th or 5th guy. Even if they call him the 1 guy, he's really not doing the job he should be doing. So if I can get you into the 1.2 somethings, you're doing really well. If you're in the 1 teens or the anything lower than that, you're spectacular. But when you're in the 1.40s and higher, you're really you shouldn't have a guaranteed spot on a team. Now, I'm sure the young guys are getting tired, so I get it, send them down. But secondly, then you bring up other guys. Then you give, like this Gomez kid that's gotten a couple of starts now, he's got a whip at 1.28. So you give him an opportunity, because what else do you have to do this year? If you have guys that you want to see, now is the time. And the guys that have had the last 3, 4, 5 months who are struggling at this point, you got to move on. And once again, speaking of transactions, Jacob Amaya, gone again. I love it. It's like constant. Cleared waivers, outrighted to the minors. A lot of moves were made because Chase Mydroth came off the 10-day IL. All right, so he came off the IL. They brought up Owen White. Amaya gets waived, gets back to the minors because nobody wants him, and Sean Burke gets optioned to the minors. Those are the recent transactions. So, look, if you're not good enough, that's how this is supposed to go. That's the refreshing thing about the way things are running now compared to in the years past.
Right, and when we look at somebody like Davis Martin, who in his last 3 starts is a 4.50 ERA, a 1.31 whip, the numbers aren't spectacular, but they're solid, right? And that's all you're talking about. And what you're looking at with Burke and Cannon is they're having blowups. They're not finishing the job, and it's going to hurt the rest of the team to a certain degree, because one of the things you're trying to build now is you're trying to build some sense that we can win games. And when your pitchers are getting murdered in the early innings, you're not going to have that feeling even as a hitter. Even when you've got Colson Montgomery hitting home runs, or when you've got Kyle Teal having a game like he did against the Braves, or Edgar Carroll, who's been performing, or Lenyn Sosa has been performing, or as Luis Robert Jr. has been coming around. There's a lot of good things going on in the field that can be undone by pitching. And you also are really trying out for next year. Owen White gets called up. Owen White, in the last 15 days, appeared in 1 game, pitched a third of an inning, got rocked, has a whip of 15, and an ERA of 108. Not 1.08, 108.00. But Owen White had pitched well in the minors. Owen White is a guy that you were thinking about, like, okay, next year, what is he going to if we're going to keep him around, if we're going to have him here next year, are we looking at him in a long relief role? Are we looking at him like a Mike Vassell part 2? Or are we looking at him as somebody who is a starter, which is what he was in the minors? You are trying to figure out what is here now and what is here for next year, because pitching is the one area that you know for a fact Chris Getz has to be creative in, because he's just not going to be able to go out and offer the big contract to somebody. So he's got to find it. And if Sean Burke and Jonathan Cannon are going to do well to go down to the minors where it just doesn't hurt anybody else on the team if they have a bad inning or a bad outing, then great. Okay, give Owen White an opportunity. And if Owen White doesn't pan out, bye-bye, buddy. Okay, Elvis Peguero, they picked him up from the Brewers. If Elvis Peguero continues to not perform, bye-bye. Okay, it's just that simple. And the accountability of it, like I said, there's a huge amount of importance with a young team that there be some accountability here.
Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money, give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement, no matter what stage you are at. It costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC. You know, last year, or in the offseason, we brought up all the White Sox stats from 2024, and we talked about how nobody had an OPS of 700 or better who had played any consistent playing time. Like, Yoan Moncada technically was over it, but he had only played in a couple of games. So, in reality, nobody on the team could just be at 700 and over, and league average normally falls at around 720. And we said, well, are we going to find anybody who can actually just do something at the plate? Currently, Mike Tauchman at 791 OPS. He's got that over 71 games and 255 at bats. Colson Montgomery, since he's been up, 777 OPS, even with the ups and the downs. Lenyn Sosa, 108 games, 391 at bats with a 752. Kyle Teal, this is the fun part, the next two guys. Kyle Teal, 745, Edgar Caro, 725. I'm not talking their last 30 days. Even with the ups and the downs and the adjustments, all these guys are above that list. And even Miguel Vargas is just above it at 704 and Benintendi's at 703. Now, that's their whole season. So that's already a big difference from what we were seeing last year. Now, if I sit there and say, okay, well, what about recently? Is there anybody that's turning it on later in the season? Chase Mizos been up and down, but if you look at him right before he got injured, I have him in his last 14 games with an 879 OPS, hitting 327. He was just starting to do something in the last couple weeks before he got injured. So let's see what he does when he comes back. Brooks Baldwin over his last 20 games is an 871 OPS. So here's a guy who's getting an opportunity now, and at least recently is doing very well. Luis Robert Jr., because of the second half, looking at him over his last month, 278 average with a 751 OPS. So you can add those guys into the list. And all the guys that I mentioned already, they're not falling off. They're nice and high in the mid 700s to the 800 OPS in the last month. Something is happening here. This is like, you can't stress this enough. This is the difference between last year and now. Last year in August, you had a team that just gave up, and you watched all these stats get worse because they had nothing to play for. What did we say at the beginning of the year? We need to make sure that we're building. Even in the dog days of summer in the last couple months of the season, we can't see things fall off. Accountability prevents that from happening, and you want these young guys to actually improve in the second half and do more. That's what I'm seeing right now. Just in that sample right there, you have overall several players that are part of your long-term plans that are doing something that nobody on the team could do last year at the plate. And then you have in the last 30 days, those guys actually performing better than what they did at the beginning of the year. And other guys who are just starting to get opportunities in the last couple of months also performing. So there's something there, man. I'm not really reaching for excitement. I'm actually genuinely excited about what's happening because it could have been so much different this year.
Yeah, and you didn't mention, for example, Curtis Mead, who is doing decently since he's been a member of the White Sox, and is another guy that, like Miguel Vargas, was questionable prospect because he had just not really been, in this case, given the chance, but also had not performed his way into the lineup with the Rays. And so when you have all of those names that you've listed, right, all of those guys that are going to be part of this lineup for the next few years at the very least, it is building something that you can look at in the future and sit there and go, every one of them is going to get better. We talked about it at the outset. Lenyn Sosa may not hit 30 home runs this year, but he's going to hit an easy 25. Next year, when Lenyn Sosa is really comfortable, could he get to that plateau?
Yes, I think it's quite possible he could hit 30 home runs next year.
Yeah, we're seeing more power out of Kyle Teal as he's gotten more and more adjusted to the league. We're seeing more power out of Edgar Caro as he's gotten adjusted to the league. Those two catchers, it's a wonderful problem to have with those two because they're both performing so very well. And you're right, Chase Mydroth had a fall off, okay? But Chase Mydroth also, I don't know how long his hand was bothering him, but Mydroth is a guy that you're looking at and going, okay, he's been through a full Major League Baseball season. He can still build upon this. We never pegged Chase Mydroth as being a superstar, but as a guy that was going to be a potential solid part of your lineup, right? And you even have some signs of life out of a guy like Andrew Benintendi, who you might want as trade bait, but also if he's still here, okay, right? He's got to still be able to contribute. Mike Tauchman, if he's not trade bait in the offseason, he's still got to contribute.
Well, what's interesting about Benintendi is if you extrapolate Brooks Baldwin's numbers and give him as many games and at-bats as Benintendi, he probably has the same stats. He's only a few home runs behind him. He's hitting the same average right now. That's what's really interesting. Like, Benintendi is at least not as bad as he was last year, but I don't even mention Brooks Baldwin as like a solid in the middle of the whole thing kind of core player. And that kid is at least at a Benintendi level when he's given the opportunity to play.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about a lineup of next year with Teal and Caro still splitting time behind the plate somehow, and possibly sitting in the DH role, and if you do have an infield that is some semblance of Vargas and Montgomery and Mydroth and Sosa or Curtis Mead in there, and if Sosa gets moved to the DH or to the outfield, if you have an outfield that has Brooks Baldwin in center because Luis Robert Jr. is gone, if Mike Tauchman is still there, if Andrew Benintendi is still there, you have the makings of a pretty solid lineup, right? And those guys feeling like they can trust each other, those guys feeling like they're all contributing, those guys feeling like, hey, if I go 0 for today, it's okay because Kyle Teal is going to go and get his hits. Or if I go 0 for today, it's okay because Miguel's on a heater right now. That's an important thing. A lot of this game really is mental. And from a pitching standpoint, we expect that the young guys are going to wear out. And so I'm most happy to see Davis Martin making it through this season and retaining some of his consistency because he's a guy that you kind of need around next year. I know Shane Smith started out hotter and is fading, but if he makes it through the rest of the season and continues to put up respectable numbers down the stretch, even if his innings are limited, that's going to be an important thing because it's two members of your starting rotation next year that are already set, and you don't have to worry about that. So get Burke back, get Cannon back to feeling right, or don't. Doesn't really matter.
The pitchers to me at this point are all nameless players, except for Shane Smith. They're all nameless players that I'm just waiting to see. Maybe Davis Martin. Okay, but overall, I'm waiting to see who rises to the top and becomes an everyday pitcher on this team. And in my mind, it's all still yet to be determined. There's a lot of pitching talent down there. Let's see who actually rises. Speaking of rising, I want to finish the show by pointing out today that in 9 years, my fantasy baseball team has now won the pennant 5 times, returning to the top of the league this week, rattling off 7 straight wins to finish off the season, and a record of 14-5 for the Ninja Black Sox. Assorted Screwballs, which is Ed's team,
we were rebuilding,
finished dead last.
Rebuilding.
Dead last.
Rebuilding.
I wasn't letting this show go without pointing it out, buddy. I'm sorry. All right.
Building.
You and Rick Hahn, perpetually rebuilding.
Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement. Socks in the basement.
Socks in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on socksinthebasement.com.